So welcome back in. In today's video, we're going to spend some time discussing filming live events. Let's start it off with, we're down in Orlando, Florida. It's myself and Che Knott, and we have been hired to do the videography for a group called Hope for Hemophilia. Now, this is a 3-day event that we will be documenting, and it'll include a little bit of both event coverage, but also a few interviews here and there. So for day one, your typical meet and greet / going ahead and getting a good feel for the actual event itself. Now, particularly for Hope, one thing that we knew is that they were going to have most likely on day one the biggest numbers, and also it was going to be probably the best reactions in regards to Hope had 2 separate different event spaces. They had basically kind of like a ballroom where they were doing speeches and they would do their dinners and lunches. And then they also had kind of a expo room where people that were actually sponsors of the event, they were set up separately. Now, one thing we knew for day one is that they were going to be doing a ribbon cutting, and as mentioned, energy and vibes are going to be really high because this is the first time all the participants we're going to be able to enter the venue space and also enter the expo. So both Che and I fully went with gimbals pretty much the entire time. Occasionally we went handheld, and if so, it would be a similar setup to this. Now, this is the GH7. This camera was typically used to record speeches and to be on tripods. Now, one thing I will say is the Lumix S5 2X, that was my run and gun camera on the actual gimbal or any kind of movement and things of that nature. And then Che also had a Nikon Z9 always on his Ronin, pretty much ready to go for gimbal shots. Now, as mentioned, day one, when you show up, it's a meet and greet, and then it's also an opportunity for us kind of to approach it by getting as much kind of quick pickup shots as possible, because we knew at the end of that day, they wanted a day one recap to be delivered. Now, this video was roughly about a minute long. And so throughout the day, we're getting our B-roll shots, Che's doing the same, and when we have some downtime, we'll sneak off to our computers and start shuffling through the footage, getting our best selects, because at the end of the day, I look over at Che and say, hey, give me your B-roll selects. He gives me 1 file, sometimes 2. Sometimes we like to separate them between rooms. So for this particular event, he would give me a file for the ballroom footage, and then he would give me expo footage. And I was going to be tasked with day one doing the first recap edit. That's just my personal kind of way I like to approach it. If I'm working with someone else and they're going to be doing some editing, I like to be the first one to do it because I'm in charge of the project. And that way, if there's any back and forth or any mistakes that are made, it's going to more come on my edit, not putting it on someone else. A little trick that we like to use, and many of you should be doing it as well, is we'll take something like this setup that you guys are seeing right here, which is the Zoom H6 with XLR inputs. I've got a V-mount set up so that it's got full power via USB, and this is in the back of the room recording everyone's speeches, while, as mentioned, sometimes the GH7 would be running to capture those speeches. Now, we would also be shooting B-roll on the gimbals that would complement those speakers, but our kind of go-to shot and go-to audio is these 2 setups. Now, selfishly, I will tell you, when I meet up with the client, I typically get a full run of show, and then I kind of ask them who are the most important speakers and who are they looking to capture. I will run audio for the full day, but I will not run video the full day. I'll go through and I'll highlight on that full run of show of who are the most important speakers, and I'll make sure to capture their video and audio because, as you'll see here in a minute, for that day one recap, we went ahead and used the president and CEO and the CFO's voices or some of the language from their speeches to actually do the day one recap.
Welcome to Hope Conference. Let's make some noise if you're happy to be here. I'm Joe Ferguson. I am COO here at Hope Charities, and we are delighted to have you. I love the energy in this room. They tell me that it is kicking at the registration table.
Y'all are good at this. That's awesome. Well, I love a rowdy crowd, and I think I'm in the right room. So thank y'all so much for being here with us, and thank you for carving out time to be at Hope Conference. You know, this is one of the things that I look forward to the most every single year. 3, 2, 1. Is being kind of in this room with with my people. Y'all are my people. I don't know if you know that or not, but I consider each and every one of you family and an extension of my family. And so I'm just so grateful that you're here, that you carved out time to be with us. There's so many beautiful things that happen in moments like this.
Now, we're here on day 2, and I would say we're getting close to the end of the day, but Che is actually going to be the one editing today. One thing, strategy-wise and kind of financially, we've kind of agreed to, if we have 2 out of 3, if we have 3 recaps to do, a lot of times I'll do 2 and he'll do 1, or vice versa. And of course, that person gets a little bit more pay that day. Now, today's video, what we're going to be doing to kind of switch it up for the client in regards to the recap is we're going to do a walk and talk with the president and CEO of the group, kind of giving an explanation in regards to day 2. Reason being is we just don't want that recap to be exactly the same, and we just know that one thing that helps our videos and our recaps really boils down to audio driving it. Now, that might be music, and that might be actual audio voiceover, or whatever it may be, someone talking to camera, walk and talk, like yesterday we pulled the clips from the speakers. We feel like that's one of the best ways to pull out the best kind of content in regards to making your audience excited, and also just those that aren't even there, or even for social media.
We just finished day 2 at Hope Conference and truly has been amazing. Started out the morning with Octapharma talking about all the resources they have. Amy Niles telling us about financial assistance and the importance for how we serve those needs, and really started to collaborate on important issues that matter to all of us. And the best part has been the hugs in between. I'm so excited. It has been an amazing, fulfilling day, and I cannot wait to start day 3 right now.
So I loved how Che actually cut that, and how Jonathan finished that video saying start of day 3, because their intention was to show this video in the morning of day, I guess, 3. Yeah, day 3. So it was just kind of nice the way the recap videos ended up flowing. You guys got a glance to see what the footage looked like, and it gives the attendees some enthusiasm in regards to being there and kind of seeing what's going on, and then also being able to see themselves on the big screen. So as we moved into day 3, this one was going to be a little bit different in regards to, we were still going to be documenting similar, but also we were going to be doing an interview for some of the participants, and we were also this time going to be interviewing Jonathan in a more, I guess, full recap way, because one last final item that we had to deliver was we did our daily, so day 1, day 2, and day 3, and then we did a full recap was the final deliverable, and that's why on day 3 we did a full oversight of the whole event, where we sat down with Jonathan and he gave a testimonial about hope for hemophilia, not only the event side, but what the mission and everything of the group was, and some of the things they were hoping to do in 2025. So let's jump into more of the interview side, where we actually pulled one of the participants who gave us a little bit of a testimonial. I'll show you the little rundown here in regards to where we filmed it and how we filmed it. As far as lighting goes, you guys can see for our key light, we've got Old Faithful. I love this mini dome 3, mainly because of how quick it is to break, or basically assemble and break down. We got the Zhiyun Mollis X100. Dude, these things are so tiny. They have been my go-tos recently. So we've got the X100 here, Lumex S52X with the new Mikey or Meki 35mm f2. We're going to be roughly shooting an f2.8 or an f3. I'll bring you guys back here. This is where I'll be stationed. That way I can kind of pop down here and I can watch my camera, not only camera 1, but I'll be monitoring the GH7. That's going to be over there. Just a cutaway shot, nothing too crazy. This is kind of a closer view of what we're looking at here. I will say, if I were to critique this particular shot, the only thing I wish I could do is potentially move this lamp over a little bit, which I will try a little. We removed one of the 2 bulbs in this lamp right here. This one actually only has 1, and I did not bring you my aperture, whatever, BC, whatever bulbs are, where I could completely take control of it. So that's the only thing I'm probably concerned about, just being slightly overexposed, but willing to forgive. Boom pole. I think, as I've mentioned to you guys, this boom pole, or I don't even know, it's basically boom pole, whatever. Great addition, and I use it also as a tripod as well. And dude, jerry-rigged here. We've got the dome bag, and inside here I've got a few water bottles, and I actually have a lens that I don't care for too much, but it's got a lot of weight that's in there weighing it down, and also some batteries. Now as we move to the GH7, really the reason that we're here with this, just to give some form of a cutaway. Now because on our main shot we are kind of going ahead and shooting this direction, all cameras in my particular experience need to be on this side, and obviously not crossing that 180 line. Now, because if I had that camera and it was over here, it'd be very distracting because of the eye line. The way we actually have it set up is interviewee here, guest there, and so the eye line is going to be coming at this direction. And also we have our brightest light coming from this side, which, if I'm trying to make any sense here, our most powerful light will be coming on the side of the face that's actually being, so it'll be this side's going to have the most amount of light, this side will have the least. And then we've got a little bit of a hair light back over there, the Mollis X60. And as far as what we've done here in the room, not too much. Here's our setup here. This is just going to be our little bit of hair light, backlight to hit the edge of that chair and the person we're going to be interviewing. And I've actually got it set kind of warm at, I want to say, 3400 Kelvin. And here's our setup here. Now there were some chairs, we moved them around a little bit. We've moved the light a little bit. As mentioned, I'm probably going to move it just a little bit more. Brought this chair over here because we're having too much dead space of wall. Moved that here a little bit, and there you have it. Which then finally leads us to the final interview for Hope, and that was going to be with Jonathan. And one thing, this is just our style and something that we like to do, is that typically if it's someone that is on the staff that is giving that final testimonial, a lot of times we like to interview them on the actual stage where the event is being held, because typically you have big branding in that room and on those LED walls. So you'll get a glance here of where we went and how we filmed Jonathan for the final interview. So I hope this video gives you guys a little bit of an insight in how we approach these events and some of the deliverables that we end up delivering to the clients. Now, I will say one thing that turned out fantastic about this year is immediately after we were done and delivered everything that was kind of on our plate, we got an email asking us if we'd be ready to film for them next year at the same location. So congrats to us in regards to we were able to repeat that client, and it's exciting because now we already have a relationship with them. We kind of have a little bit of the lay of the land and we understand the workflow. So this is one thing I would probably encourage many of you guys, is that as far as finances on this, both Che and I did relatively well. I felt like it was a very reasonable pay for the dailies and then also the editing. And I will say that this is something that many of you could probably find yourself doing. Now, I will say that one thing that is an absolute must is you're going to most likely need multiple cameras and you're going to need an audio recorder. Do you absolutely need a gimbal? I don't think so. I think it's one of those things that if you have it in your budget, it'll really come in handy, and the vast majority of your footage will be a little bit more usable because it won't be so shaky. But I would say with a group like Hope and groups that are similar to Hope, is that they want good vibes, they want relatively quick turnaround, and they want someone that just puts a smile on their face. These events are really family oriented and there's good vibes only, and I think if you can bring that alongside good video quality, good video content, you'll find yourself getting more repeat clients. Now, would I advise someone probably filming this by themselves? You could absolutely do it, and it would be a grind. I will say the one reason why I always bring in someone like Che is, one, to take a little bit of the workload off of me, but also having the ability to have one person in one expo while the other person is in a ballroom, or one person being able to do an interview while another person is at an award ceremony. That's going to be a huge advantage. So it's one thing that I try to do my best of carving out in my budgets, or when I'm putting a proposal together, of taking that in consideration of like, my end result will be so much better if I'm able to bring on an extra hand. And you guys saw in the beginning the amount of gear that we're bringing, whether it's lighting, audio, gimbals, multiple cameras, tripods. It definitely is a huge bonus if you're able to be able to bring someone with you. Now, I would say I've been doing these events now, or events of this style, for almost a decade, and I never started in the beginning with someone else. It was always having to do it myself. So don't be discouraged if you're having to do these by yourself, but I hope this was some insight in regards to, is this the best footage ever? No. Are the edits the best ever? No. But I do think they're on a tier where these clients are very thrilled and they're very happy. And I know that both myself and Che, every time, will come back and try to deliver a notch above. And yeah, so in 2025, do not discount live events. This is our approach. It is not the do all, end all, say all, but this is how we've found success, and I hope you find success too. So shout out to 2025 filming live events, having fun, making money, and shaking hands and meeting new folks. I'm out. And selfishly, this little setup right here, it being self-powered, all that, being able to run for a full day is just an absolute game changer. And it looks silly, but lifesaver. Get that audio. Audio can be so key to these recaps.